In 1982, physicist Alain Aspect was staring at results that made no sense. He had separated two particles, sent them to opposite ends of his laboratory. Then he measured one. The moment he did, the other particle responded instantly. Not after a delay, not after a signal traveled between them. Instantly. As if distance didn't exist. As if the two particles separated in space were still somehow one thing. Aspect didn't know what to do with this, so he published the results and waited. What he had proven, without intending to, had already been written down. In Alexandria, 1700 years earlier, the text was called the Emerald Tablet. Written in the Hermetic tradition, a body of ancient wisdom from Alexandria, Egypt, blending Greek philosophy, Egyptian mysticism, and early science. Its most famous line, "As above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul." For centuries, scholars read this as spiritual poetry, beautiful language about the connection between heaven and earth, metaphor, symbol, myth. Then quantum physics arrived, and what seemed like poetry turned out to be a precise description of how the universe is actually structured. In the next 11 minutes, I'm going to show you 3 things the Hermetic principle of correspondence described that modern physics has now confirmed. And a practice that makes this more than information. That makes it something you can feel in your body right now. Let's go back to Alain Aspect's laboratory. Parallel 1. As above, so below. Here's what Aspect's 1982 experiment actually proved. When two particles truly interact, at the quantum level they become entangled. From that moment on, they share a single quantum state. Measure one particle's spin, the other instantly shows the opposite spin. No signal, no delay, no matter how far apart they are. Physicist David Bohm watched this data and asked a question no one else was asking. What if they're not actually separate? What if the appearance of two separate particles in two separate locations is itself the illusion? What if, at a deeper level of reality, they're still one thing? Bohm called it the implicate order, a deeper, unmanifest level of reality where everything that appears separate in our world is actually folded together, unified, whole. Think of a hologram. If you take a holographic photograph and cut it in half, you don't get half the image. Get the whole image, in both halves, smaller but complete. Cut it again, still the whole image. Every part contains the whole. Bohm said the universe works the same way. Every particle, every point in space contains information about the entire universe. The part reflects the whole. The small mirrors the large. As above, so below. The Hermetic teachers in Alexandria were describing the holographic structure of reality 17 centuries before David Bohm had the mathematics to prove it. They didn't call it the implicate order. They called it correspondence. The principle that every level of reality mirrors every other level. Atom mirrors solar system. Cell mirrors organism. Individual mirrors cosmos. Not because someone designed it that way, but because they all arise from the same underlying field, and that field's pattern repeats at every scale. Look at your hand right now. Your hand has a palm, a center with lines radiating outward. Your body has a torso, a center with limbs radiating outward. A tree has a trunk, a center with branches radiating outward. A galaxy has a core, a center with spiral arms radiating outward. Same pattern, different scales. As above, so below. That's the first parallel. The holographic universe hiding in a 1,700-year-old Hermetic axiom. But here's where the story gets personal, because the second parallel isn't about particles in a lab. It's about you and why your internal state creates your external reality, not as metaphor, as quantum mechanics. Parallel 2, as within, so without. Here's a story. In the 1990s, researchers at HeartMath Institute were studying something unusual. They had noticed that people in states of heart, coherence, genuine appreciation, calm focus, inner stability, seemed to affect the world around them differently than people in states of stress and anxiety. Not through action, not through decision-making, through something harder to measure, the quality of their presence. Quantum physics gives us a framework for understanding why. The observer effect, the principal aspects experiment confirmed, says that consciousness doesn't passively observe reality. It participates in creating it. Before observation, a quantum system exists in superposition, all possibilities open. The observer's act of measurement collapses those possibilities into one specific outcome. Your internal state, coherent or chaotic, open or contracted, present or scattered, is a form of observation. It's how your consciousness meets the quantum field. Coherent inner state, the field collapses toward coherent outcomes. Chaotic inner state, the field collapses toward chaotic outcomes. As within, so without. The Hermetic teachers were precise about this. They weren't saying positive thinking creates reality. They were describing something more mechanical than that. Your internal state is a quantum instrument. It shapes what the field presents to you not by coincidence, but by physics. Physicist John Wheeler spent the last decades of his life developing what he called the participatory universe. The idea that observers aren't separate from the universe they observe. They're co-creators of it. The Hermetic principle of correspondence said the same thing in 3 words. As within, so without. Right now, without changing anything, just notice. What is the quality of your inner state in this moment? Tight, open, contracted, expansive? This is your current quantum instrument. This is what's meeting the field. Just noticing without judgment is itself a shift. 2 parallels. The universe is holographic. Every part contains the whole. Your inner state creates your outer reality. The observer shapes the field. The third parallel is the one that changes everything. Because it's not about particles or coherence. It's about consciousness itself, and where the ancient Hermetic teachers said it sits in the structure of reality. Parallel 3. The all is mind. The first principle of the Hermetic tradition, the foundation beneath correspondence, is called mentalism, from the Kybalion. The all is mind, the universe is mental. For most of history, this sounded like mysticism. Of course, the universe isn't mental. Matter is matter. Mind is something the brain creates. Then, quantum physics produced a result no one was prepared for. In 1931, Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, one of the most rigorous physicists who ever lived, gave a speech in Florence. He said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." This wasn't philosophy. This was the man who built quantum mechanics, telling the scientific community what the mathematics was pointing toward. The hard problem of consciousness, the question of why and how subjective experience arises from physical matter, remains completely unsolved by neuroscience. Every attempt to explain consciousness as a product of brain activity runs into the same wall. But if you reverse the assumption, if consciousness is primary and matter is what consciousness produces, the hard problem dissolves. Physicist Bernardo Kastrup has spent his career developing this framework. He calls it analytic idealism, the rigorous philosophical position that consciousness is the fundamental substrate of reality. Matter, space, time, these are structures within consciousness, not the other way around. The all is mind, the universe is mental. The Hermetic teachers in Alexandria were not being poetic. They were reporting a direct observation about the structure of reality, the same observation quantum physics keeps arriving at, whether physicists are comfortable with it or not. 3 principles, 3 quantum confirmations. The universe is holographic, every part mirrors the whole. Your inner state creates your outer reality, the observer shapes the field. Consciousness is fundamental. Mind is the ground of all matter. Here's a practice that brings all 3 together, not as philosophy, as direct experience. 90 seconds. Close your eyes. Take 1 slow breath in and release it completely. Step 1. Feel your body. Notice the weight of your body, the temperature of the air on your skin, the rhythm of your heartbeat. You are here, present, specific. Step 2. Expand awareness. Now, without moving, expand your awareness. Feel the room you're in. Feel the building, the neighborhood, the city. The earth beneath all of it. Step 3. Recognize correspondence. Now, recognize the pattern that beats in your heart, rhythmic, cycling, alive, is the same pattern that moves through ocean tides, through planetary orbits, through the spiral arms of galaxies. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe at this scale, aware of itself. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. Take 1 deep breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. The Hermetic principle of correspondence has survived 1,700 years. Not because it's beautiful language, not because it became religious doctrine, but because every generation that tested it in meditation, in science, in direct observation, found the same thing. It describes reality accurately. Alain Aspect in 1982 was not trying to confirm ancient Hermetic texts. He was just doing physics. David Bohm was not a Hermetic scholar. He was following the mathematics wherever it led. Max Planck was not a mystic. He was the most rigorous physicist of his generation. And they all arrived at the same place the Hermetic teachers had already mapped. The universe is holographic. The inner creates the outer. Consciousness is the ground, not the product. As above, so below. 3 words, 1,700 years old. Still true. If the Hermetic principle of correspondence is holographic universe theory, what else did the ancient wisdom traditions know that physics is still catching up to? In the next video, I'll show you how the Tao Te Ching described quantum tunneling 2,500 years ago. Wu Wei effortless action is not a spiritual concept. It's the mechanics of how particles move through energy barriers without force. If this landed, if the hologram, the observer, or the ground of consciousness shifted something, subscribe. This channel exists for exactly this. Ancient wisdom decoded through modern science. And in the comments, which parallel hit deepest? The holographic universe, the inner creating the outer, or consciousness as fundamental? Drop it below. I read everyone. See you in the next one.